like to tell you all why we decided to have this FDP. We did because it is one of our major responsibilities to advise students, junior members of our team, to choose relevant topics for their research and start it early. And staying up to date on literature and language and knowing how to research effectively will give each researcher a unique path, and they will learn a better way of researching and will help them give their research a career uh, which takes them to the right direction. So these were all some of the thoughts that we had, and we thought we need to have an intense FDP which helps them understand all the various areas which generally they find uh, uh, the good advice they're never able to get. And if we are able to create one intense FDP which caters all the needs, all the questions which they have in their mind, if all that gets answered, that kind of an FDP would be really great. So that was the idea which we had in our mind. So with this purpose in mind, with this intention, uh, we have that is the Department of English of CSH SRMIST has organized this 8-day FDP on research methodology. For all the 8 days, we have eminent resource persons who have a very long time associations with research per se and have deep expertise in their chosen topic of talk. I wish all the participants the 8 evenings drenches them in the shower of knowledge, and they all emerge out at the end of the FTP into a full-fledged researchers who do not do a research like how they are lost in a forest where they don't know what the path is, how exactly to write or choose or publish. So all these things they will be able to understand and will be able to carry on this long torch of long uh, race, relay race of research, and will help in giving the society a better research from every individual. Thank you. Bharati, can you please mute yourself? Bharati, please mute yourself. Thank you so much. Kathy, you can continue.
Thank you, ma'am, for your inspiring words. Research is creating new knowledge. To help us gain more knowledge, now I welcome our chief guest, Dr. MOHAMMED HASSOUNA, Assistant Professor of English Language and Literature, Aswan University. He has 21 years of teaching experience at universities inside and outside Egypt. He has published many international researches and translated books. Once again, we welcome you, sir.
Thank you so much. First of all, I'd like to introduce my gratitude and my thanks for Professor Kathy, the chair of the hosting me in such reputable university and conference. And I'd like to send you all greetings from my country, Egypt. Now we are starting the second part, the second half of our scholarly year. As you said, my name is Professor MOHAMMED HASSOUNA. I'm an assistant professor of English language and literature, Faculty of Languages, Aswan University, English department. And today I'd like to give you a speech about writing a research and literature. Of course, you know that all over the world, literature is the mirror that reflects the culture, the customs, the traditions, the history, and the attitude and behavior of other peoples or societies around the world. So in order to know about any people, any community, any society, you have to read the literature. And literature is considered the record, actually, of the history of any society all over the world. The problem of doing research is literature is that most of researchers are lost in many topics. Or the other problem that we are suffering actually in Egypt and the Middle East area is that they are still working on old-fashioned, what we call old-fashioned theories and old-fashioned topics or issues. In order to write about literature, first of all, you have to read a lot about the society. Sorry? Is there a problem? Someone is speaking?
It was an interruption, sir. I'll ask the host to mute everybody else. Let the speaker alone have his mic on. Can that be done by the host? Please do that. And yes, Pamela, ma'am, please mute yourself, please.
Okay, shall I go on?
Yes, sir, please.
Okay, so
So you will have to unmute yourself, sir. Mohammed, sir. So you'll have to.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Okay. So I was saying that in order to write about the literature about any society, community, you have to read very well and very carefully about their culture. You have also to know about the target audience. Who are you going to write your research for? This is very important, actually. And also, we are dealing with MA and PhD students, advising them that you have to get rid of the old-fashioned topics. You have to write about modern and contemporary issues right now. For example, nowadays, the whole world is changing, as you see, and we have a lot of theories to concentrate on. We advise students to concentrate on the theory of alienation, the theory of illegal immigration, the theory of human trafficking, also violence, also the war literature, the present literature, due to a lot of conflicts around the world. And in order to choose any topic of these, you have to read a lot, the history, the culture, what are you going to deal with? And this is the most important part, actually, and it takes too much time to determine the point you are going to speak about. Number two, you cannot write a research in literature without determining a certain theory, because you are not writing an essay, you are writing about a theory. The research without a theory is very weak and unacceptable for most of professors around the world. So in order to write for what's going on now, the COVID-19 pandemic research of it and the effect of the COVID, called the pandemic of COVID-19, represented in Andrea Steed's The Sixth Day, and it was a literary work that was made in Egypt in 1940. So number one, you have to choose a topic, and very well, and you have to take care of the target audience. You have to concentrate on the theory. Writing about the theory, you are going to write about the definition of the theory according to more than one scientist, more than one philosopher, more than one scholar. How did this scientist or philosopher define the theory? What's his point of view? How did he explain it? And then you will move to the characteristics of the theory, because the theory's characteristics are very important as you are going to apply on your research. Okay? And then you are going to write about the objective of your study. What are you going to say? What's the target of your research? What do you want to tell the target audience? What do you want to say in your paper? What is it about? This is very important, and a lot of researchers are getting lost actually doing so. That's why the professional researcher must be professional in writing about the object of his research. And then you are going to deal with the literary work or works. You are going to deal with applying the theory on them. How about quotations? What are the most important quotations? What are you going to say? How will you apply the theory characteristics you have chosen on your literary work? This is something very important for your paper. And this is very difficult actually. And here it's the distinguished professor is going to appear for all. After applying the theory and the characteristics of the theory, we are going to write a historical background. You cannot write research historical background. I'm going to speak about in my research. Of things. However, the background gives a lot of information to the audience. Also, it gives a kind of paper is going to say. It's going to refer from the first or the second paper at most. Very good introduction. And as we know that introduction is to be read first and to be written last, it must be professionally written. The historical background, the theory, its definition, the characteristics of the theory, and then I'm going to enter to my topic, which is concentrated on literary work or more than literary work. I'm going to speak about the writer. Who's the writer? What's his discipline? What's his attitude in writing? And what he is going to tell us about in such work. And the biggest mistake, of course, knowing for most of people is that there is no research where you are going to tell us the story, because the story is before us. The book is before us. The novel is before us. The drama is before us. But we are reading an analysis according to a certain theory that you have chosen. So write historical background, write about the theory, analyze the theory, the definition of the theory, the characteristics of the theory, the objective of your study, the aim of writing this paper, and then you are going to write about the literary work itself, the writer of the literary work, who's the author, what he's going to say, what's his attitude. Then you are going to apply the theory on the literary work itself. You are going to analyze, choose and read your paper. We have to know that's your goal. Did you achieve this? Did you manage to convince you for her as a reader? Did you apply comparative study or analytical study? Also, in writing literature, you can apply some linguistic theories and some translation theories. And this is a new approach we use in Egypt and Arab world, the translations theories of literary works, because you know that the whole world is looking to know what's going on in Arab world, especially after the Arabian Spring in 2011. Because after Arabian Spring, we have new kind of literature. We have present literature, and we have the graphic novel and the graphic plays literature. Both are used to express young persons, young adults, youth. Sorry. So, so the whole world now is dealing with the new trends of literature. So you will find a lot of researchers started to concentrate on the new disciplines, the new trends of literature. And moving to the conclusion of a literary work, we are considering this is the most difficult part in your research. Because if you write a very good conclusion, it means that throughout this conclusion, I'm going to recognize the topic, recognize the theory, recognize the results, and recognize the target, the objective of your study within few lines. We have a lot of journals to publish many research here in Egypt are or so. And here I'm going to speak about the problem of waiting for maybe 9 months to a year to have your paper accepted and published in a journal. And this is one of the obstacles and the difficulties that face the researcher in doing his research and literature. Also, we have to be up to date with the contemporary ways of citation. Are we going to follow MLA or are we going to follow APA? Most of literary works concentrate on MLA, and most of linguistic research concentrate on APA, American Psychological Association, as you know. Okay, so writing a research and literature needs too much information, great concentration. The researcher must be well aware, very well aware of the society he is writing about. He must treat the history. He must treat about a theory, choosing a theory, and starting then to write your research. After reading the literary work, it's not going to be as a surprise or something if I'm going to tell you that this process at least takes from 6 months at least to a year at most to publish a very good research. So writing or doing a research in literature is something that's not easy. It's something that cannot be quickly accepted. It needs too much effort. It needs professional supervisors to work on. And nowadays, we are facing this problem in Egypt with MA and PhD students because they are still working, some of them, on feminism, on ecofeminism, and the old theories. And according to us in all universities, we no longer accept such topics, not because they are bad, but as we say here, that they are researchally killed. You are not going to introduce something new. So you have to look for the modern theories. You have to look for contemporary writers, and in order to choose a topic. Something else I'd like to refer to is that most of the world started to concentrate about 6 or 7 years ago on African literature. We have here Ramji Lal as a representative of Indian literature, and we teach it at universities. We teach his books, okay? But what about African literature? It's neglected by most of countries and universities for very long decades, actually. African literature means the African, the literature of Nigeria, Congo, Sudan, Libya after war, after Arabian Spring. And a lot of researchers start to invade this area, started to analyze the literary works of African literature, Black literature, speaking about racism, actually, of rejecting the literary works of such authors. So African literature now is on our table, the table of English departments of most universities in Egypt and Arab world, also the Asian literature. But what I wanted to say is that I believe that there are a lot of what can I say? We need more cooperation. We need more books. We need more conferences. We need more authors and literary writers to introduce themselves to us, and we need to introduce ourselves to the world. Arabian writers now are moving around the world to introduce themselves, their works, their workers, and we have started also the third attitude of comparative literature. We analyze an Arabian work with a foreign work from Nigeria, from Congo, from Asia, from Europe, and this kind of comparative literature gives us actually a kind of well spread around the world. It introduced most of Arabian writers, especially those after 2011. They are young writers. They actually deserve to be read around the world. And again, I'd like to say that we have to, I'm not going to use a strong word, but we have to advise, we have to guide our students, MA students, PhD students, or any researcher to work on modern and contemporary theories. We have no time now to lose with the old ways of writing literary works, research on literary works. We have to deal with the modern and contemporary theories. We have to deal with the modern and contemporary writers. And I mean, from the year 2005 to 2023, we have to concentrate on involved writers and not very famous writers, okay, because they need to be read actually, because if the researcher choose a very good topic and you writer, not very well known for others, I believe for myself that this is in fact a kind of achievement for him. This is what I want to say, and I hope to not to be fast, but because of the connection, not to be lost. That's why I wanted to transfer my point of view, and I hope you find my speech is good. Thank you for so much for you, and I'm ready for any question.
Participants, if you have any question to be asked to the speaker, you can just use your chat box or you can unmute and talk.
So we have no questions? Yeah, can you please refer some texts from where we can learn correct MLA citation? Okay, I didn't see the first question. I saw just this question. It's better to ask your question verbally. I'm going to answer the last question. From MLA citation, we have a lot of MLA books, okay? But for myself, I think that from Book Z Library, and its free website to download MLA books, I recommend MLA 1999. I recommend MLA 2005, and you will not find a great change from this book to this version. Actually, you have to know that using the way of writing the title of the topic, and then you write .etd, just you can write the title of the topic followed by .etd will help you much, because ETD stands for electronic thesis and dissertations. Electronic thesis and dissertations. And this is very important to say, actually, because if you want to do a research, the shortest and the best way actually is to get the researchers and the theses or dissertations written by others. So if you write the title of your topic, then followed by .etd, electronic thesis and dissertations, you are going to find an endless list of the works published and written. This will give you a lot of references. This will give you an easy way to deal with the topic. It will make you understand the literary work you are working on better and better. And of course, you have to have your contribution throughout your writing. If you have a literary work or a paper without contribution, it means it's not good. So kindly simplify your speech with the topic. A topic I spoke about the modern theories. I advise my newly published novel or drama. Generally, we don't have any critical. Okay, where can I get your? This is from chat box. You can write here. As for the topics, I told you that now we are working on alienation, illegal immigration, human trafficking, war literature, and present literature. You can write here in the box your questions so I can see them. Okay. In order to work on my advice is that about the themes dealt by writers from Egypt, a few writers from your place, some notable works. Okay, from Egypt you can read about of course Naguib Mahfouz, and he's very well known. You can read for Reem Bassiouni, and she's contemporary writer. You can read also for Ihsan Abdul Quddus. Also, you can read for Ahmed Khalid Tawfiq. He passed away 2018. He was a professor at Faculty of Medicine, Tanta University, and he's known, very well known, especially among youth. He wrote marvelous topics about what's happening in Egypt before and after 1952 military coup. Those are 4 writers as examples. And you will find the books published for free on Book ZZ. This is it's called a free library to get whatever you want to. You will find a lot of translated works actually.
Hello, sir. Hello.
Most of works are translated. Yeah.
Hi, sir. I posted a question like, how can we do literature review for a research on a newly published novel or drama? Because most of the time, the text does not have any critical work written on it. Can you please tell us how to do that?
Okay, that's very good question. And here comes your contribution. If you don't have a lot of critical, very few critical works, it means that you have to concentrate on a theory or the idea you are going to work on. And after that, how can you apply this work or this idea or connect it to what you are going to write about? Here you are going to come as a contributor, and you have to know that the writer who wrote or criticized anything or any literary work is not better than you. No, you are human as he is human. You have to write your own point of view, and here comes the professional researcher. And then you can send this to a professor, an old professor who's specialized in this, and he's going to say that this is the right route, or you have to change it, you have to add this, and you have to omit this. It's not something very difficult. And I'm going to move from this question to the question before me, that how can be the chapter division done effectively in PhD thesis? In PhD thesis, you have to know that working on less than 3 literary works, it's going to be weak thesis. The PhD thesis, the first contribution is that what you are going to say. It's different from MA. Reading a PhD thesis, it means that I'm going to read about a researcher who's going to introduce something new that wasn't introduced before. Where is your contribution? This is the question number 1. Number 2, at least you have to choose 3 literary works, 3 novels, 3 plays to work on. And the first chapter is going to be on the writers, the theory, and they are going to tell us about the theory you are going to apply. Okay, I'm going to repeat the names again. The theory you are going to apply on your researchers. As for the names, Naguib Mahfouz, I'm going to write them. إحسان عبد القدوس أحمد خالد توفيق ريم بسيوني. And of course, you can read about Egypt after 1952. Those who are interested in Egyptian literature are going to read about Egypt after 1952, the military coup that happened in Egypt in 1952. And there are
So
a
1
lot
minute,
of novels that describe this. Sorry?
1 minute, sir. Participants,
Okay.
please mute your mic. Pamela, please mute your mic. Yes, sir. Please continue, sir.
Okay, so do you hear me? You
Yes,
follow?
sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. So, and that's why I'm going to return to the first point I mentioned in my lecture. In order to write about a research, a literary work, you have to read the historical background. For example, I'm going to write about Egypt. So the history of Egypt, the modern history of Egypt starts from 1952, military coup that happened, and Egypt changed from being a kingdom into being a republic. So who wrote about this? What about this military coup? What happened? This is number 1. Number 2, what's Egypt after 2011 revolution? Number 3, how is Egypt after 2013 revolution, after the Islamic fascism that governed Egypt for 1 year? So reading the history leads you to know what you are going to deal with. So what I'm going to decide to write about. Writing about a certain history, I'm going to find a dozen novels and a dozen plays on this. Okay. Also, you can find something. For example, we have a lot of comparison between Egypt and Nigeria because the history is actually the same, almost the same. So it means I can make a comparison. For example, if I'm going to recommend some MOHAMMED HASSOUNA, Aswan University, you will find that I have done many researches on Nigerian writers like Chika Onegwe, like Chimamanda Adichie, and she's very famous for this, of course. And you will find that they wrote a lot. They wrote about the history of their countries. And you will find also violence in Nigeria. This is a research I have published. You will find about religious fanaticism in Nigeria. So dealing with society, I'm going to write about this society in a certain period. A certain period creates certain literature. Now we have the literature after Russian-Ukrainian war. You will find some Russian writers, some Ukrainian writers who wrote about this war. Writing about this war, it means that you will find a new era started with this title, the Russian-Ukrainian War. According to Ukrainian writers and according to Russian writers, I'm going to read the literary work. I'm going to determine what is the theory that's suitable for this. Is it violence, for example? Is it human trafficking? Is it alienation for the families that became orphans and became widows? What I'm going to speak about, is it the terrible mother against her children after the loss of their father? Is it war literature? Is it present literature for those people who were jailed? And what did they write in their jails? So you will have a lot of trends. Those trends are very enough, more than enough for you to choose topics. And you have to divide your research work into the first chapter speaks about the writer and the theory, the characteristics of the theory, and then every chapter is going to speak about a literary work with certain quotations and a conclusion. That's the most important part in order to speak about what I'm going to introduce to my reader as a researcher. What I wanted to say, did I succeed in conveying my own point of view? Did I succeed in discussing the topic? And that's why again and again, I'm going to emphasize on the point that the most important and the most professional way to improve yourself in writing research is not to read books, but to read previous researchers. Use the way I told you about, and I'm going to write, for example, if we are going to speak about violence. Violence in, for example, Russia. .ett. Okay, I learned it this way in the United States, by the way. .etd means electronic thesis and dissertations. So I'm going to get all the dissertations and the thesis. It means I'm going to get the works of people who worked for a dozen years, for decades. Where's your question? I saw a notification in the chat box, but I didn't see the question. Where's the question? Please write him here. Please write it again.
Hello, sir. I'm Sharon. May I ask a question, sir?
Yeah, of course.
So first and foremost, I express our wholehearted gratitude to the wonderful session and from our eminent person like you. And so my question is, in this session, I was able to understand the new trends that you have put forth, and you have told that certain times require certain literature. So at present, more eminently war literature and literature that is connected with the violence and the problems that are happening in our society is preeminent. And so I feel that maybe so many years back, romanticism existed more. And now as humanity is progressing, we are coming into a phase where our society is experiencing more wars and violence. And maybe after 10 years, will the literature turn back to romanticism? Or will it continue in the same chaotic way? According to you, what would be the turn of literature maybe after 10 years?
This is a question about expectations. I'm going to tell you, this is a very good question, by the way. Thank you for this question. But changing the world from romanticism now to war literature and violence, I believe that now we are going to maybe start the literature of eco-criticism literature. It started a few years ago, but it wasn't like nowadays. The eco-criticism literature, because we are suffering now due to wars and due to the climate change from the destruction of our environment. This kind of literature refers to the movement of certain groups, the movement of communities, creating new societies. It means creating new languages, accents, customs, cultures. Okay, you know that now Europe is suffering from drought, is suffering from the lack of and shortage actually of food. And now the movement is to Saudi Arabia and the Middle East, because we have now seen that the desert areas changed into agricultural areas. This is going to create the literature of eco-criticism literature in the Middle East. It will be new trend actually. Also, you will find the travelogue literature. The travelogue literature, though it's old, but we will have new topics in travelogue literature. People will move from Europe to Saudi Arabia and the Gulf countries, look for agriculture and water to stay behind, to stay besides. We will find the travelogue literature and the departure literature, people suffering from alienation, because they cannot find their societies as they were before. We also, I expect, are going to witness such kind of Cold War, not less than 30 years coming. Do you get my point?
Yes, sir.
So it's a very good question actually about expectations.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. You're welcome. More questions?
So there's one question from the chat box.
Yeah, can you suggest some web sources which would be much useful for doing research? Actually, for web sources, the web sources for literary works or for what? To download literary works and books, or for what?
Sir, you can suggest for both.
For book, yeah, it's
Book and letter.
it's b
Literary works.
.org. This website, you will find millions of books, literary and in any other field, for free to download. bok.org. It's going to be for free. Also, using the ETD way I told you about will be so useful for you. Welcome, Professor Kathy. Welcome back. Also, you can look for the references of any literary work published. I can send you because now I'm using my phone, not computer. If you search my name, Mohammed Hassouna, I'm going to write you my name the way you will going to find Mohammed Hassouna, Aswan University. Sorry. It's Mohammed, because writing on phone is different from writing on the laptop. I'm one of those people fond of laptop. If you write my name like this, you will find my research is published on Google Scholar. And so in the references, you will find a lot of links, website links. You can check them. The link leads to another link, and you will find it throughout the reference of any researcher that he is going to get you to a certain book. So it's going to reduce the time. You will not consume too much time to look for something, and you will concentrate on reading. But what I'm going to say, again, because I noticed that most of you are interested in the modern trends. Within few days, you will find published research for me. It's going to publish at the Faculty of Arts at Aswan University, and I'm going to send it to Professor Casey. It's about graphic novels after 2011. I'm discussing the idea of illegal immigration for one of the refugees in a book. It's called The Strange. I'm going to write it here. The Strange. stream by uh, Jerome Broiler. Graphic novels actually is a new trend. It spread a lot after 2011. It carries a lot of pictures and very few words. It's very symbolic. It's to the point. You will find it's widely spread. You will find that it's widely accepted. It's read by children, by youth, by old people. Very, very, very interesting. So you can work on such area of specialization or in such field. Violence, you can use the theory of Foucault. You can read also, you will find my research on religious fanaticism in North Nigeria. I'm speaking about Muslim Brotherhood and about Boko Haram, and so you will find also alienation. I think that I've published this research in an Indian journal. It's called the International Journal of English and Literature. And I'm not going to be away from you if you need any kind of help or so. I will be happy to receive your questions and to contact you. One more question. Where's the question? I don't know. Maybe because, yeah.
Sir, I have a question. So that is, recently we just tend to publish our papers in different kinds of journals, and depending upon the journals, they suggest either Chicago Manual of Style of Referencing or APA style of referencing or MLA style of referencing. But we Indian students here are associated only with MLA handbook. So could you please suggest some journals or magazines or how we can master the referencing styles of other manual styles, Chicago and APA, all of these things?
Okay, the APA actually is required for the linguistic research, not literature. The literature is actually using the MLA. This is number one, okay? But however, if journal condition that you have to use APA, this is something subsidiary. This is something, it's not big difference. But I'm going to give you, there is a kind of research circle with MLA journals you can publish through. It's called New Directions in Humanities. New Directions in Humanities. The logo is green. It's located in Illinois, United States of America. Of course, you know, as I told you, that the research takes maybe about 280 days, but it's a SCOBUS and MLA, so it means that it's published in not advertising journal or something like this. It's something that's worthy, very worthy, because they choose very few number out of very big number of the researchers. The New Directions of Humanities, if you check their website, you will find they have conferences, they have more than one journal for many specializations. Professors are from Europe, from America, and it's something actually very useful. I recognize it in one of the conferences, and I have published with them also once. You will like them. In India also there are a lot of journals, but you know them more than me. But what I want to say is that the interdisciplinary journals are not recommended. The interdisciplinary journals, if you wanted to publish in your research, if it's linguistic or literary work, you are going to publish in the journal for humanities or literary work or linguistic, because it's the same area of specialization. But the interdisciplinary journal, actually, yeah, it's going to be published, but it's looking for the publication fees. Have you got my point?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. So we have some other questions in the chat box. So there's one participant who has asked if there is a possibility to do comparative study in Tamil literature and Egyptian literature.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. My pleasure. Yeah, of course. But in which area? So you have to decide about the area itself, and I'm ready to do something like this. It's my pleasure.
Okay. Participants, if any of you
But my
have any
advice,
other doubts,
yeah,
you can unmute and ask. Yes, sir, you were saying something.
I was saying that working on contemporary writers, you can read Ahmed Khalid Tawfiq, you can read Reem Bassiouni, and the contemporary writers actually are giving the chance to invade new trends, to be free for the researcher to discover something new. And this is very important for the researcher actually. I don't know, I have in a chat box, it's free. It's empty. Yeah, I'm currently working on graphic novels for my PhD, and I'm wondering how many novels minimum to consider to make my thesis strong. That's a good question. If it's MA, it's enough for 2 novels. If it's PhD, not less than 3 or 4 novels. Okay, and don't concentrate on counting, but you will concentrate on the quality of your research. Can you please tell whether your university is accepting students for a students exchange program? Actually, in 2018, the Indian ambassador signed a kind of a memorandum of understanding. And we have students, Faculty of Engineering, but for Faculty of Arts, you need to contact the Indian ambassador here in Egypt. Sir, what all themes come under trauma studies? Does it include physical, mental, and social trauma? Of course, the 3 branches. Do these new trends like violence, trafficking, war, alienation, some under trauma studies? Of course, they are under trauma studies. And here you are going to follow something that's called narrowing the ideas. I'm going to work on trauma theory. And from trauma theory, I'm going to concentrate on violence or human trafficking or something in such literary works. All of them are trauma, but which part of trauma you are going to work on, that's what you are going to deal throughout your research. And you have to know that writing research and literature takes time to have a very good piece of work. This is very important. Yeah, more questions? For the programs, you have to contact the Indian ambassador in Egypt. There was something like this in different faculties at my university. His name was Pacharaya. You will find him a friend on my but he left to Switzerland, and then I think we're back to India again. New directions in humanities. Yeah, new directions in humanities. It's a research work, research circle, and you will find it online, new directions, and it's very useful for you to publish and participate in conferences. You have more questions? Possible to do postdoctoral research in your university? No, my university cannot do so because it's only 10 years published. But you can do post researches at Cairo University, Shams University, climate change and context, what all theories can be applied. The theories that could be applied is the eco-criticism theory, and you will have a lot of literary works to work on. Back to the question of your friend, that we should draw conclusions and give solutions to the questions that we discussed in this thesis. Yes. Finally, if you'd like to go on your researches in Egypt, you have Alexandria University, Ain Shams University, and it's located in Cairo. Giza University, and it's also located in Cairo. And if there are more universities, I'm going to tell Professor Kathy about it. Thank you so much for listening to me, and I hope my session was useful. You can contact me whenever you want to. Professor Kathy has my data, and I'm so happy to be invited for such reputable conference. I'm so happy to see people like you, and it was very good a chance for me. Thank you so much.
Sir, thank you so much for joining us, and it was a pleasure indeed. And thank you for that wonderful session, informative and thought-provoking. I hope all the participants they had a lot of input, and if any queries in future, we'll let you know, sir. And thank you. If you could if you could send your email in chat box so that it will be easy for the participants to contact you for more
Yeah, of course.
clarity and understanding.
Of course, my pleasure, and I'm so happy to join such conference. And now this is my email. You can send me on, and again, I'd like to express my gratitude and many thanks for you for your interest, for meeting you and your colleagues, your students. Actually, you are someone who's very thoughtful, respectable, and a great professor. Thank you so much, and I will wait for your feedback. Actually, I have to leave now to get my daughters from school, and I will wait for your feedback on WhatsApp after finishing. Thank you so much,
Thank
and
you
have
so
a
much,
nice time.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. I request the participants to meet tomorrow at the same time. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Pushpa ma'am, you have to unmute yourself.
Sir, we have one anthem that is to be done by a student. We request you to wait for 2 more minutes. Susan, proceed.
We had this same and soft beneath our feet, needlessly. We raise walls and flee from the changing suns to the cycles of seasons. We thrive in this life for a good reason. Keenly we listen to the beating in our voice. Consciously we ignore the worldly noise. We all are one. We break for none. We're simple stars beyond the space of imagination. We all are one. We break for none. We're simple stars beyond the space of imagination. This globe has lit with terror and shame. We unite to wipe the shameful blame. Every beating heart is a kid and kin. Differences are the new form of sin. We all are one. We break for none. We're simple stars beyond the space of imagination. Together we rise, and together we don't let the mysteries and boundaries be gone. We all are one. We break for none. We're simple stars beyond the space of imagination. We voice out and to unite we desire, we are one. We break for none. We are one. we pray for now. Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you. Meet you tomorrow at 6 o'clock. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Participants, I have posted the feedback form. Please fill it up. Those who have filled the feedback form can leave the meeting. I'm sending it again. It's in the chat box. I have sent now.
And feedback from not found, ma'am.
Yes, sir. Hello.
Feedback not found in the chat box. Ma'am, feedback form not found in the chat box, ma'am.
Just a minute, sorting it out. Yes. Can you see the form now?
Yes, ma'am. Now it is available.
Yeah, please fill it up.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.